Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the game preview, Everton taking on Tottenham Hotspur at Goodison Park on Sunday afternoon. Antonio Conte's first Premier League game in charge of Tottenham Hotspur comes against Everton. Rafa Benitez's Everton side, they were coming off the back of 3 straight defeats to West Ham, Watford and Wolves. All of the W's, 3 W's that ended up turning into L's. A little bit of wordplay there for you early on in the stream. But no, Rafa Benitez's Everton side coming off of the back of 3 straight defeats, which isn't great, of course. It's not great. It's not what we want to see. Obviously, we've spoken heavily over the last couple of days or so about, Everton's last 3 performances, the results, the performance against West Ham, which wasn't necessarily the worst performance in the world, but certainly wasn't a great result whatsoever. And then, of course, we've spoken about the performance against Watford, which was a complete and utter disgrace, certainly that last 15-20 minutes of it. And then the Wolves game, and again, the first half, a complete continuation of the Watford debacle. Second half, yes, we got better. We were a little bit more structured. We looked a little bit calmer and more collected on the ball, but it still wasn't a great second half, was it? Let's be honest. It wasn't like we created a plethora of opportunities and put Wolves under any sort of real pressure. We had a couple of off chances here and there, but that was about it. So this is a massive, massive game for Rafa Benitez, an absolutely humongous game. And as I said, it just so happens to be coming up against the Tottenham team, who this time last week I was looking at this fixture thinking, okay, although Everton aren't playing too well at the moment, obviously we hadn't played Wolves at this point. Even this time on Tuesday after the Wolves game, I was thinking, yeah, you know what, Tottenham are a decent side. They've got some some decent players, but they haven't got a manager yet. They just sacked Nuno Espirito Santo, of course, and there's certainly a team that can be got at. There's certainly a team that you can get at and you can cause problems to and you can beat. And then of course they go out and employ Antonio Conte, who is one of the best managers on the planet. I seen a stat the other day, I think, which said that in his 8 or 7 professional seasons as a manager, he's won 5 league titles or something like that, which is just absolutely bonkers. Statistically, that is absolutely bonkers. And all of a sudden, a game that you're looking at is potentially, I don't want to say an easy game, but certainly a game that, Everton are more than more than capable of going out and picking up points in, all of a sudden becomes 10 times as hard because of the managerial decision that Tottenham Hotspur have made. I think Antonio Conte is an absolutely fantastic manager. We saw Tottenham in action last night against Vitesse in the Europa Conference League. They were 3-0 up within half an hour, absolutely cruising, and I was watching it thinking this is going to be a hard afternoon on Sunday. And they did show some weaknesses all of a sudden. Vitesse got back into it with a goal, got another goal and made the 3-2 and put a lot of pressure on Tottenham. They had a sending off. Vitesse had 2 sending offs themselves. So there were certainly areas in the game last night that I was thinking, Everton can exploit them and get at them and break them down. And there's obviously an absolutely tremendous amount of work for Antonio Conte to do at Tottenham if they're going to become anywhere near challenging for any form of title or trophy. And that's typically what Antonio Conte likes to do. He's still got an awful lot of work, but he's in no doubt a much, much better manager than Nuno Espirito Santo. Nuno Espirito Santo, of course, getting the sack, a manager heavily linked with the Everton job in the summer. I don't necessarily think he's a bad manager, I just think the job was maybe a little bit too big. I think the expectation of Tottenham fans was maybe a little bit too much for Nuno Espirito Santo, and they've replaced him with a truly world-class manager. And it probably was a good thing that they played last night, because it meant that their sort of new manager bounce, or the initial bounce, didn't come on Sunday. They'll still be very much in this honeymoon period and still be very much in the sort of bounce back, because obviously they won last night. But I could only imagine Everton being 3-0 down on Sunday and Antonio Conte's first game managing Tottenham, and what the reaction at Goodison Park would have been if it was us last night. But ultimately, listen, it's up to Rafa Benitez and it's up to these players to put in a performance on Sunday. It's very, very easy. You only have to go on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and look at how the general sort of fan base is feeling towards this game on Sunday, and it's not a very positive feeling. There's a lot of fans that are saying we'll get absolutely trampled all over. There's a lot of fans saying we'll lose, and I don't think that's necessarily just because Antonio Conte's come in and took the Tottenham job. It's also, and probably more so, to do with the fact that Everton have just been absolutely woeful recently. There doesn't seem to be any fight in the squad. There doesn't seem to be any desire There doesn't seem to be any passion. There doesn't seem to be any urgency from any of the players. And okay, whilst this Tottenham team haven't been great themselves, and of course under Nuno Espirito Santo they look lost, they've still got players in that team that can turn around on any given day and beat any side. The likes of Heung-min Son, who I don't like for obvious reasons as an Evertonian, but is an absolutely unbelievable footballer, Harry Kane, who hasn't had the greatest start to the season, obviously had a bit of a mad summer. Would he go, wouldn't he go, ended up staying at Tottenham, hasn't had a great start to the season, but he can score goals, he gets on the end of things, he gets on the end of balls into the box. He caused Everton massive issues last time out at Goodison Park last season against Spurs, where we gifted them 2 goals, but he was there, to put those chances away. Lucas Maurer, who I watched last night, and he looked absolutely brilliant for them. Obviously, they've got young Oliver Skipp in the midfield, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who we're heavily linked with as well. So this is a Tottenham team that we're certainly underachieving under Nuno Espirito Santo. I'd never like to see it, but I question whether there was a little bit of sort of players giving up on the manager and sort of maybe wanting him to be sacked and wanting him to be moved on by the club, and that was why they performed like they did, because there's not a chance that the performances you were seeing at the start of this season from Tottenham were the best of what they are capable of. We've seen this Tottenham team, very, very similar Tottenham team over the last couple of years, get to Champions League finals and really, really compete at the top end of the Premier League. So I don't think there was any question that they were underachieving under Nuno Espirito Santo, and maybe there was a hidden agenda within the dressing room to maybe want to get him moved on to bring in more of a serial winner, and that's ultimately what this Tottenham team have done. But as I said, it's down to Everton. It's down to Everton on Sunday. There's still a Tottenham team that can be beaten. There's still a Tottenham team that can put in poor performances. There's still a group of players that, ultimately have shown on a number of occasions this season that teams can get at them and beat them and cause them problems and ultimately make them, sort of, I suppose, expose their issues, and that's what Everton have got to do on Sunday. I think, as I said before, the lack of confidence that we seem to be seeing on social media and when you talk to Evertonians is not really to do with Tottenham or the fact that they've brought in Antonio Conte or the fact that they won last night. It's more to do with the fact that Everton haven't looked anything other than utterly abysmal for the last 2 weeks, certainly 3 weeks. Okay, West Ham was a little bit unlucky, they got the goal, we didn't. It was a tight game of football, but the Watford debacle was disgraceful, and the first half on Monday night, I was there at Molineux, the first half on Monday night was embarrassing. It was utterly embarrassing. Wolves are a decent side, they're nothing more, nothing less than a decent Premier League side, and we made them look like Manchester City the other day, and we can't afford to do that. We simply can't afford to do that on Sunday. If our midfield is as all over the place as it was on Monday night, then we could be 3-4-0 down come half time, because Tottenham still will be in this new honeymoon period, bounce back period. It's the first Premier League game, first away game, of course, that Antonio Conte is in charge of them. Obviously, the game yesterday would have taken a lot of the emotion, and his first game in charge, this, that and the other, but the players will still be very confident going into this one. They'll still be thinking, do you know what, okay, it was a bit tight yesterday, but we managed to get the win, let's go into the game against Everton. And if I was a Tottenham fan or a Tottenham player, I'd be looking at this Everton game going, this is a big chance to get our first win away on the road under Conte and get some real form building up and get some real momentum building up, because Everton at the moment just look like the gifting points to any team that comes to it. It looks like, I say it every year around this time, Everton, and this is a deeper conversation, and I'm going to do another live stream about an hour after this one, talking about the board and the board's, what the board's priority is at this football club, because it seems like every single year at this time of year, Everton as a football club must look at the fixture list and go, do you know what, we're that nice of a football club, we want every other Premier League team to love us that much that we're going to give early Christmas presents to every team that comes up against us, and we're going to give them a nice easy 3 points, and you can take that, you can wrap it up, you can put a bow on it, you can put it under your Christmas tree, and you can have that for Christmas. It just seems like at this time of year, the whole squad, the players, the managerial decisions just go to shit. It all just seems like it gets thrown out the window, especially the last 2 years where we've had an amazing September. Last season, of course, a relatively good start to October. Again, this season, an amazing September. Okay, start to October wasn't great, but we got the result against Manchester United, which was a good result. The result against Norwich at the end of September. And then after that, it's just, yeah, whatever, we'll fall to shit again. It doesn't matter, who cares? And as I said, the onus is on Everton. Everton could be 4-0 down by half-time on Sunday if we put in the performance that we did in the first half against Wolves. Equally, Everton could be 1 or 2-0 up if we put in the performance that we did against Manchester United at Old Trafford. It's, Carlo Ancelotti, who none of us really like particularly, but he said one thing that really, really stuck with me at the end of last season. I think it was in his pre-game press conference to the last game of the season. He said this team is a double-faced team, basically a two-faced side. And what he meant by that is, and maybe that a part of that, well, definitely a part of that was down to him because because he was the manager at the time. But what he meant by that was ultimately 1 week this Everton team can turn up and be absolutely amazing, and the next week we can turn up and be utterly shocking. This is going to be a really, really difficult test on Sunday. Tottenham have got a massive bounce back in confidence. All of a sudden the mentality around the football club is lifted. The overall feeling around the football club is lifted massively. If this was a Nuno Tottenham side, I'd be looking thinking, do you know what? This is two fairly average teams who are in bad form coming up against each other. Let's go and turn our form in this one. But it's not. It's a Tottenham side which has proven, and I think will prove over the next few weeks, that confidence is very, very important in football. If you've got no confidence, you can be absolutely dreadful and lose to any team. But there's a lot of teams out there that if they've got a little bit of confidence behind them, they can go on and pick up results. And I think Tottenham are like that. Would Tottenham have won that game last night with Nuno in charge? I don't know. Would they have been 3-0 up on the 30th minute? I don't know. Would the fans have been as electric as they were, or as loud as they sound on the television? I don't know. In fact, I'd go as far as to say no, they wouldn't. But they had a new manager, the new boost. They were scoring goals. I just hope that Everton can combat that on Sunday, because listen, the mood on Monday night after the Wolves defeat wasn't great towards Rafa Benitez. It wasn't great towards the players. I sat here, done the instant match reaction, done the reviews and a review on Tuesday, was it, and spoke about the reaction towards the players and the manager, and I had a go for half an hour, 35 minutes to the players, saying that they don't give enough, they don't care enough, they don't show they care, they're not asked, they're not interested. The second half, a lot of players put in a decent performance. Why couldn't they have done that in the first half? And obviously, the worst thing would be for Everton is to go 1-0 up in the first 5 or 10 minutes in this game, because I think the crowd will turn. Tottenham is obviously away end, they'll be bouncing, they'll get a lot of confidence from it. It's just not really the game we want to be playing, is it, at this point in the season? 3 straight defeats, as I said, all of the W's turned into L's. West Ham, Watford and Wolves. Obviously, us fans have various different opinions. Some people think it's Rafa Benitez's fault. Some people think it's the players' fault. Some people think it's a mix of both. There is some Evertonians out there, whether we like it or not, whether we want to discuss it or not, whether we want to pay attention to it or not. There's some Evertonians out there that want Rafa Benitez out of the football club. In fact, there's some Evertonians out there that never wanted him in the first place and certainly want him out. And we're sort of in that stage that maybe Tottenham were prior to sacking Nuno Espirito Santo, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying we should sack Rafa Benitez, because obviously they had the pull power to go out and get Antonio Conte. We don't. We'd be being linked to the likes of Eddie Howe, who looks like he's going to Newcastle. So I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is it's going to be really, really difficult. And the manager spoke, Rafa Benitez had this pre-game press conference about an hour ago. He spoke about this game. He was asked, is this a bad time to play Tottenham? And look, he gave the typical, you've got to play everybody at one stage and it's never a good time to play a decent team and all of that sort of stuff. But we'll be prepared and we'll be ready and all of that. But let's be honest, it's an awful time to be playing Tottenham. It's an absolutely awful time to be playing. A great time to be playing Tottenham would have been last weekend, last Saturday, last Sunday, when the pressure's on Nuno and there's a bit of uncertainty in this, that and the other. The players aren't really playing for him. I would say a good time to play a Tottenham team who've just brought in one of the best managers in world football and who are going to have a massive confidence boost, whilst Everton ourselves, there's a lot of sort of uncertainty in terms of fan opinion on whether they want the manager or not. The players aren't really putting in the performances or caring. What have I seen over the last 2-3 weeks to suggest that I'm going to see a different performance on Sunday against Tottenham? And that's why people are not confident. That's why people are coming out and saying, well, this could be a cricket score, X, Y, and Z. But ultimately, look, we've got to put up a performance. We simply have to turn up on Sunday. I don't think Goodison Park will allow these players to hide again. I don't think Goodison Park will allow these players to turn up and not put in a performance, not show that they care, not show that they're interested in this team. We have to do our part as fans at the weekend. We absolutely have to do our part as fans. The atmosphere at Goodison recently has been dross, and I'm not putting that on any one fan, and I'm not sitting here having a go at any one fan, because that's not my place to do so, and I fall into that as well. I'm not standing up screaming and shouting, starting chants every 2 seconds, so I fall into that same bracket. But it needs to improve, and I'm sure there's I know there's various different Evertonians that are trying to make that happen on a day-to-day basis, but we need a reaction on Sunday. We need a reaction. This is going to be an extremely difficult game. It's we need the reaction. We simply do. Maxim says, I have never experienced so much hate as a Tottenham fan. People are butthurt. We sat in contact. I hope you're not referring to me there, mate, because I'm absolutely not arsed, to be honest with you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Antonio Conte, Rafa Benitez, Carlo Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, bloody Sir Alex Ferguson, bloody God. I don't think any manager could fix Everton at the moment, because there's much deeper issues. So I'm really not that arsed that you've brought in Conte. I just know that this will be a much more difficult game than it would have been a week ago. And as I said, onus is on Everton. Onus is absolutely on Everton to go out there and put a performance in. Whoever starts this game, whoever plays, the manager's got to make the right decision. The decision to start Jean-Philippe Gbamin last week in a midfield two was a poor decision, and it should have been changed 5 minutes into the game, but he didn't. And obviously we went on to lose that game. Not saying because of Gbamin, but he certainly didn't help it. The manager's got to make the right decisions, but ultimately those 11 players, when they walk on that pitch on Sunday afternoon, I can't even remember what time kickoff is. I'm sure somebody will remind me. Let me Google it here, actually. Kickoff is at 2 o'clock on Sunday. So when those players walk onto that pitch at 2 o'clock on Sunday, it's down to them. It's down to them to put a performance in. It's down to them to give it 110%. It's down to them to work hard. And we might still lose the game, of course, because that's football. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you give it 110% and it's just not enough. But I don't think any of us will leave Goodison Park on Sunday absolutely fuming, disappointed, furious if you can see these players have given everything and we've lost by a silly goal or a stupid. Yes, we will have criticisms, and yes, we'll have points to talk about, but I don't think we'll be as angry as what we will be if we turn up on Sunday and these players have the absolute nerve. And I'd love to sit in and say they won't have the nerve to do it, but to be honest, I think they might have the nerve to do it, to put in the same performance as we saw in the first half on Monday against Wolves and in the last 15 minutes against Watford the week before, because it was disgraceful. It was utterly disgraceful. Anyway, let's get into talking about Spurs then, their form at the moment. If you're enjoying this live stream, by the way, please hit that like button. Pardon me, it does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. That would mean an absolutely massive amount to me as well. If you're watching live, get your thoughts in the live comments and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. And if you're new to the channel, as I said, do subscribe. So Tottenham currently sitting 9th in the Premier League, 1 place and 1 point above Everton, I believe. They have played 10 games, won 5, drawn none, lost 5. So again, pretty average start to the season for Tottenham. Near enough bang in the middle of the table. 5 wins, 5 losses with 10 games played. As I said, 1 point above Everton. It is to be said that this is Antonio Conte's first game in charge of Tottenham in the Premier League. They won last night against Betis in the Europa League. The Conference League. I've just mentioned then, a lot of quality in this Tottenham side that can hurt Everton, whether they're confident or not, whether they're playing well or not. They've still got Harry Kane, who's been one of the most prolific and best strikers in the Premier League for the last 6-7 years, 5-6 years certainly. They've got Heung-min Son, who, again, as I said, I personally don't like because of a situation that happened to Goodison a couple of years ago. But in terms of as a footballer, I think he's an unbelievably talented footballer, and I can say that, putting aside how I feel about him and the fact that I think he's an absolute idiot, even though some people think he's a dead nice guy, he's an unbelievable footballer. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, of course, who is, again, a player that Everton were heavily linked with in Carlo Ancelotti's first summer, ended up bringing in Alan instead. He's a sort of a general in the midfield. And they've got a lot of quality. Lucas Maurer, who looked really good yesterday. And they showed, albeit against the Betis side, who maybe aren't the greatest team in the world and maybe aren't of a Premier League standard. They showed that if you sleep on this Tottenham team and if you don't take control in the midfield and you make silly defensive mistakes, then they can make you pay for that and they can hurt you. And if there's any team that is susceptible to sleeping in the midfield midfield and making defensive mistakes at the minute, it's Everton. So, I was watching that game against Vitesse last night, and it didn't at one point cross my mind that, yeah, but these are aren't a great side. They're not a very good team. It doesn't worry me. I looked at it and I thought I could see Everton conceding goals like that on Sunday. I could see Everton's midfield falling asleep. I could see Everton's defence overexerting themselves and being caught in behind. I could see it. I said in the game in the review to the Wolves game, if there's any goals Everton concede at the moment, it's either a set piece or a self-sabotaged defensive mistake. We absolutely have to be better than we were against Wolves. There's no question about it. We have to be better. We have to be stronger. We have to be, we have to be a lot more compact in the midfield. We have to be a lot more structured in the midfield. Defensively, we can't be making stupid mistakes. The game against Spurs at Goodison last season saw 2 stupid defensive mistakes cost us 2 goals. Otherwise, we'd have gone on and won that game. We saw the cup game against Spurs at Goodison last season, which ended 5-4. Yes, we scored, goals and we were going forward. We were very good, but we conceded 4 goals at home, which is abysmal. So defensively, we absolutely have to be so much better on Sunday. As I said, the recent results 3-2 last night against Vitesse in the UEFA Conference League, Europa Conference League, whatever it's called, albeit ended up hanging on towards the end, but look, still got the win, which is all that matters. You've got, obviously, they lost 3-0 to Manchester United in Nuno's last game in charge the week before in the Premier League. That was at home. Beat Burnley away in the Carabao Cup the week before that. Lost to West Ham in the league away from home, 1-0 the week before that. Lost to Vitesse in the reverse fixture of the game last night. And then the last time they won a Premier League game was away to Newcastle. They won 3-2 a couple of weeks ago. So they are due a win. But equally Everton are due a win. And I don't think this Tottenham team is pardon me, I don't think this Tottenham team is light years ahead of this Everton team. In fact, I think this Tottenham team and this Everton team are very, very, very similar. And the one difference I would say, pardon me, bit of a sore throat. Hang on. Pardon me. Apologies about that. The one thing I would say about this Tottenham team, in regards to their how like they are to Everton, is they've got half the injuries that Everton have got, and they certainly haven't got anywhere near as many injuries to key players as to what Everton have got. The manager, Rafa Benitez, has confirmed in his pre-game press conference today that Everton will be without Abdoulaye Doucouré, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Yerry Mina and Andre Gomez for tomorrow's game. Obviously, the 3 biggest misses being Yerry Mina, Abdoulaye Doucouré and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the whole spine of our team. We've spoken time and time again about how, this Everton defence is absolutely abysmal without Yerry Mina in it. There was hope that Yerry Mina would have been available for this game. Obviously, he's missed the last 2-3 games. He's missed every game since returning from the last international break. The one positive, I suppose, we could say on the Yerry Mina situation is that Colombia confirmed yesterday that he will not be going away with their side for the next international break. So he'll get a little bit of a rest. He won't have to go and play 3 games in the space of 10 minutes like he did last time out. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, of course, is continuing his recovery, but still isn't fit. And obviously Abdoulaye Doucouré, who we had a positive update on last week, stating that he could return after the international break. It is still too early for him to return. So, as I said, Tottenham will be coming into this game with Son, Kane, Lucas Maurer, Højbjerg. Okay, they might have 1 or 2 injuries here and there, but the majority of their side is fit to be available on Sunday. Everton's just simply isn't. You cannot say the same about this Everton team. And I worry that not having Yerry Mina in the defence, not having Abdoulaye Doucouré in the midfield, and not having Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front will again come back to bite us on Sunday. I really, really do. I hope not. I sincerely hope not, but it is a worry because, the quality of those players is, what makes this Everton team tick, really. And without those players, not only are we a dysfunctional team, but we're also absolutely awful without those 3 players. The defence is dreadful without Yerry Mina. The forward line is heavily weakened without Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And the midfield is heavily unbalanced without Abdoulaye Doucouré in there. So, it makes this one 10 times as difficult as it would have been anyway. Everton are bang in the mix of an injury crisis at the moment. Doesn't take away from the fact that the players that step in to replace those injured players need to give 100%, and if they don't give 100%, then it's absolutely on them. But it's not ideal. It's not an ideal situation, is it, to come into what is ultimately a difficult game. But like I said, it's not all doom and gloom. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we'll get absolutely battered on Sunday. We're not playing Manchester City. We're not playing the Merseyside derby. Those games are to come over the next couple of weeks. We're playing a side that are very, very beatable, in my opinion. Even with Antonio Conte, even with their, the majority of their squad fit, they're a very, very beatable team. Vitesse showed last night that they can be got at, they can be exploited, they can make defensive mistakes, they can make, mistakes in the midfield, they can be overrun, and it's up to Everton to be able to find a way to do that. But also, stop giving away stupid goals, stop making stupid mistakes, stop giving away corners. Don't give any corners away at all on Sunday. Don't even give one corner away, because we concede every time we give a corner away. So we have to be aware that whilst this Tottenham team will have had a massive boost because of the manager, they can still be got at. But what's the point in scoring 2 or 3 goals if we're going to make 5 defensive mistakes and concede 5? So the onus is simply on Everton. Everton have to be much better. And if we are much better, if we perform like we did against Man United at Goodison Park, the crowd will be up and involved. We'll beat this Tottenham team on Sunday. I honestly do think we'll beat them on Sunday if we perform like we did against Man United. If we perform like we did against Watford, then it could see a lot of people leaving very, very early on. And that's the double-faced Everton side, as we spoke about before, and it can't be like that. Anyway, let's get into the live comments before we go into talking about my predicted starting 11 ahead of this one. I hope you all are doing really, really well. If you're enjoying this team so far, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic. Get your thoughts in the live comments if you're watching live. We'll get involved with as many of them as we can. Damien says, how do Cam? I've made a live stream finally. This is going to be a tough game this weekend if we don't change our mentality or effort. We're in for another hiding. I agree. Absolutely. The effort. I think effort is a big, big word there. And a key word that you mentioned. The effort simply has to be there. Whoever starts, those 11 players on that pitch in blue on Sunday have to want to be there for the start and have to want to fight and work hard for this Everton team. Work hard for the fans. And to be honest, pardon me, I don't think we'll see another Watford. I don't think we'll see another Wolves. I do think we'll see a much better performance. I think the manager understands that some of the tactical decisions he made against Watford and Wolves weren't suitable. I don't think he'll make those mistakes again. And ultimately, we're playing a much, much better opposition. And look, we've seen Everton teams in the past, these same players in the past, put in poor performance after poor performance against bang average Premier League teams, and then come up against sides that you'd sit back and think, oh my God, we're going to get absolutely, we're going to get a beaten today. And we've turned up and we've won. I remember Marco Silva's first season, we were absolutely awful. We played the Merseyside derby. Everybody was thinking, this is going to be a complete walkover for Liverpool. And all of a sudden, it was the first game with the Sirens. We turned up. We played really, really well. The crowd was up. The crowd was, involved. We ended up drawing that game, but then we went on to beat Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Leicester, all in the space of about 4 or 5 weeks. So there's certainly proof in the past that this Everton team can bounce back and can put in performances that are good enough to beat sides like Tottenham, but it's whether they want to. It's whether these players want to. It's whether these players wake up and think, I'm up for this today. I'm up for it. Or whether they wake up and think, oh my God, just get this over and done with and get me home. That's the difference. Dosbig says, hi Cam, second. Hi my mate. One thing I do want to say before we move on to talking about the game and the predicted starting 11 in the comments is we hit 1 million views across all of our videos yesterday on the channel. It absolutely baffles me to hear those words come out my mouth, to be perfectly honest with you. 1 million views across all of the videos is it is, pardon me by the way, it's baffling. It's absolutely baffling to think that the videos that we've uploaded on this channel, the rants, the reviews, the previews, the instant match reactions, the news videos, to think that they've been viewed over 1 million times is baffling for me. Again, I said it last week when I spoke about hitting 5,000 subscribers. I never imagined hitting 1,000 subscribers, never mind 5, and I never imagined 10,000. The videos too have been viewed 10,000 times, never mind 1 million. It's absolutely unbelievable. The support I've received over the last 3 years and continue to receive on a day-to-day basis on the channel is absolutely unbelievable, and I just want to express my massive thanks to each and every person that's come on the channel, watched the video, liked, disliked, subscribed, unsubscribed, got in the comments, thought this lad's an absolute knobhead, or thought this lad's actually talks a little bit of sense. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody, because honestly, when I woke up yesterday and I saw that million views, I just thought, this is mad. This is absolutely mad. So thank you all so much. Ed says, hi Cam, do you think Rafa knows the answers to the mess we are in, or is he still learning about how many cowards are in our squad? Probably the latter, to be honest with you. Probably the latter. He's probably still learning about this squad. I think when we can have a transfer window, probably next summer, because January is never really a window to do much business in. But when we can have a transfer window where we've got a lot of money to spend, not a lot of money, but we've got a bit of freedom, and B, we because of that freedom and because of that money we can spend, we can then move players on that just simply don't want to be here or aren't giving it 110%. I think you will see Rafa Benitez do that, and I think Rafa Benitez has expressed that to maybe the board or some higher ups at the club, and that's why he's getting such backing. But ultimately at the moment, when we line up with Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey on Sunday, despite Ben Godfrey being absolutely awful for the last 3 weeks and making a shocking mistake last week, and Michael Keane being as consistent as a chocolate fire guard, don't sit here and go, what's the manager doing? He's awful, he's this, he's that, he's the other. We don't have any other option. Yerry Mina is out injured. Jared Brandthwaite is very young and got minimal Premier League experience, albeit he was very good when he come in under Carlo Ancelotti, but he hasn't played the Premier League game for a long time. Mason Holgate is as bad as the other two. So when we see the back line on Sunday and we think, oh my god, this is going to get ripped to bits against Spurs, we haven't got any other option. He might go with 5 at the back because of that reason, but there's no other options there. Whammy says, hey Cam, hey everybody lad, how you doing? Is right mate. TK says, are you still at uni, Cam? I never went to uni in the first place, mate. Stevie Lamb, what's happening? He says, alright young Cam, probably a draw on Sunday, and that'll be a good point at the moment because there's way better than us. Yeah, listen, at this point I'd take a draw. At this point, but I do think we can beat them. I do. It might be blind confidence, it might be blind naivety, but I do think we can beat this Tottenham team. This isn't a different team to the one that lost to West Ham a couple of weeks ago and were absolutely awful, were dominated against the bad Manchester United team last week. This isn't a different Manchester United team that barely beat Tottenham team that barely beat Newcastle a few weeks ago. It's the same team. Yes, they're being managed by a much better manager, and yes, they'll have a massive confidence boost because of that. But it's not a different team. They're the same group of players. They can still be got at. They can still be exploited. They can still make defensive mistakes. They'll still have players in that squad that technically aren't that great. So it's about Everton being able to not only exploit that and force them into making mistakes and make them pay for the mistakes, but ultimately, first and foremost, it's about Everton on Sunday. Forget Tottenham and how good Tottenham's team are or how bad Tottenham's team can be. Doesn't matter. None of that doesn't matter if Tottenham's back line make 422 mistakes. If Everton's back line make 423, we'll lose the game. If Everton's forward line don't convert the chances they get, we won't win the game. So it's all about Everton. TK says, when we lose, I'll guarantee you'll blame Iwobi. I don't think I've blamed Iwobi specifically once. I've blamed Iwobi when he's put in dreadful performances, and that have been most of the time he's played. Where are we? Matty Bluno says, I know Rafa has made some mistakes in terms of subs and players for the starting 11, but it's really up to the players who get picked to at least do the basics and have some fight in them. Yeah, I would agree, mate. I would agree. Damien says, I don't agree with all these fans calling for Rafa's head already. This team has had 5 previous managers sacked and they're responsible in my eyes for the shit football we're having to watch. I agree, mate. I agree. But let's be honest, are we surprised at the fact that there's fans that were calling for Rafa Benitez's head? This was always going to happen. We knew it before he come in. When he was first being linked with Everton, as soon as we had a bit of a rut, as soon as we had a couple of bad performances, a couple of bad results, a couple of bad, displays, there was always going to be fans that wanted them out. That was always going to happen. It's no surprise. Goodison Blues says, this is a game Kane wakes up and gets a few goals. Let's hope not, mate. Maximus says Tottenham will win by 3 goals. Let's hope not as well. Josh Foy says, players' fault, not Rafa's. Play for Everton, play for your shirt and your position. I don't even see minimal effort from some players, just shoulder shrugs. Yeah, I'd agree. Whammy says nothing can be done. There's players that need to go. They're just garbage. Kenny, Holgate, probably Tom, Delph, Iwobi, Gomez, Rondon, Keane, Coleman, all for one reason or another not good enough. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that, mate. He says Conte will flop at Spurs. Interesting. And Ananda says no matter who the gaffer is, this team is terrible regardless. Only have a strong 10-11, then a massive drop off. Yeah, Again, hard to disagree. And Pokey says, in Rafa we trust, I predict 1-1. Listen, as I said, I'd take 1-1 at the minute. I would take 1-1. Anyway, we will get back in the live comments in just a moment, so don't forget to get your comments in the live comments. It would mean a massive, massive amount to me. And if you're watching live, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. There's a Chelsea fan in the comments. I know you won't be interested in any of our content, but hit the subscribe button because it only takes a second and it helps us out. Nice one. Yeah, anyway, let's get straight back into the game. As I said, Rafa Benitez has done his pre-game press conference today ahead of Sunday's game. He has confirmed that Everton will be without Yerry Mina, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Andre Gomez, all still out to injury. No surprises there, to be honest with you. I think the only one we may have sort of hoped would be fit would be Yerry Mina, but he still isn't available, so we will be without Yerry Mina. Yeah, as I said, again, we are in a massive, massive injury crisis. It's not an excuse, and I'm not going to sit here and make it an excuse because I think, as I said, the performance against Watford and Wolves shown that, you know, realistically, the players that are stepping in for the players that are out injured need to do better. Whether we've got injuries or not, the players that are coming in just simply don't show that they care enough, don't show that they're interested, don't show that they're asked. They need to simply do better. But we can't ignore the fact that this Everton team is in a massive rut at the moment with injuries and without the entire strength and spine of our team. I mean, Yerry Mina is our best centre half. He's out injured. Abdoulaye Doucouré is our most influential midfielder. Some would argue even our best. He's out injured. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin is our best striker. He's out injured. So there's always going to be a drop off. There's always going to be games that you won't win because of that. Because of those injuries, and this may be one of them. But there's no excuse for not giving it 110%. There's simply no excuse. I said it before and I'll say it again. Some players, footballers have excuses in their lives. They do. A player might return and go, a player might retire and say, yeah, I wasn't good enough to score this goal, or I just wasn't good enough to score that goal, or I just wasn't good enough to make this assist, or I just wasn't a good enough defender, or I just didn't have enough skill. Players can retire and say all of that because some players aren't good enough to score some goals. They're not good enough to assist. They're not good enough to defend at the highest level. They're not good enough to play in midfield at the highest level. But there is not one footballer on this planet that can play football or retire or at any point in his career say, I wasn't good enough to give 100%, because that is utter nonsense. There is not one football player at Everton Football Club, there's not one football player to ever have existed who can sit there and say, I wasn't good enough to give 100%. Every single player is good enough to give 110%, and every player is expected to give 110%. A certain player's 100% mightn't be anywhere near as good as another player's 60%. A certain player's 100% mightn't be as good as Everton need it to be. But if every player gives it 110%, then we as fans can sit back and say, this squad just isn't good enough. This squad just needs improving. These players just aren't good enough. We can't sit here and say they don't care. They're not trying. They're not running through brick walls. They're not giving it 110%. And that's what we've been saying recently, because these players aren't giving everything. And there's no excuse for that. There's simply no excuse for not giving 110%. No excuse whatsoever. There's simply not. Even if you're carrying an injury, you give it 110% to what you can do. And even then, players aren't doing that. So, for me, as I said, there's no excuse for not giving it 100%. Anyway, let's get into the predicted starting 11. My predicted starting 11 ahead of this game. It's going to be a difficult game, as we mentioned. We've just spoken about the injuries that Everton obviously have currently got, which is, has a massive impact on the team, whether we like it or not. Let's get straight into it then. In goal, I'm going for Jordan Pickford. Again, not a fault for either of the goals on Monday night against Wolves. Made a couple of really, really big saves on a couple of occasions to keep us in the game. And for me, as I said, I think Jordan's been very, very, very good recently. There's some absolute idiots who have not got a clue about football coming out on social media saying that Aaron Ramsdale should be England's number one. If you genuinely think that Jordan Pickford's England place is up for grabs, then you may as well go and watch cricket, because you haven't got a clue about football. Jordan Pickford has saved England in 2 major tournaments. He was the sole reason they were in a FIFA World Cup semi-final 3 years ago, and he was the sole reason as they stayed in that penalty shootout for as long as he did. They were talking about a goalkeeper who saved 3 out of 5 penalties from an Italian side who were filled with fantastic penalty takers. Don't be talking utter fucking nonsense. Aaron Ramsdale isn't half the goalkeeper Jordan Pickford is. He's had half a decent game, and even the save he made that everyone's creaming the kecks over was bang average at best. Jordan Pickford makes them 3-4 times in the game, and we just say, yeah, that's what Jordan does. So Jordan Pickford, England's number one. Sorry for the rant, but I just think some people on Twitter don't have a clue about footy and claim to have a clue about footy. Certain Manchester United YouTubers being one of them. Anyway, Jordan Pickford in goal, as I said, not put a foot wrong for a long, long time. For me, has been brilliant and wasn't at fault for any of the goals last week. Jordan starts in goal. Left back, I've gone with Luca Dean. The manager did confirm today, a bit of a positive injury update, that Luca Dean has returned to training and is fit ahead of tomorrow. Now look, Luca Dean hasn't had the greatest start to the season whatsoever. He really, really hasn't. And ultimately, as I say, Luca Dean is his level at the moment is much below what we expect from him, and his level at the moment I think is much below what we sort of need from him as well, to be honest with you. Defensively, he hasn't been very good whatsoever, and going forward he just hasn't been as involved as he needs to be. However, obviously we saw Ben Godfrey adopt that position at left back last week, and whilst he was playing out of position, and whilst he, again, he wasn't absolutely awful, he still made a stupid mistake that ultimately led to what ended up being the winning goal in the end. So, if Luca Dean is fit, even though he's not in great form, even though maybe he needs a little bit of a rest, maybe he needs a little bit of time out, he's going to have to start, because we've got nobody else. And let's hope that Luca Dean can play through this bad form. I think that if Luca Dean, gets a goal or an assist or has a really, really good game, I think then we'll then start to see the best of him. I think he's at the moment suffering from maybe a little bit of a confidence rut. Centre backs then, I've gone with Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey. As I said before, for me, we can sit here all we like and say, oh, but Michael Keane's making mistakes every week, Ben Godfrey's making mistakes every week, this, that and the other. We've got no other option. Jared Branthwaite isn't starting on Sunday. He isn't starting on Sunday, and he shouldn't start on Sunday. He's a young lad. Okay, when he's played in the Premier League before, he's done okay, but he's a young lad coming up against the Tottenham team that is full of confidence with, two of the best attackers in world football. Okay, Kane hasn't had a great start to the season, but, over the last 4 or 5 years, he's still one of the best strikers on the planet. Son, absolutely fantastic forward player. It would be stupid for Jared Branthwaite to start this game. Now, you could say, but we've got to promote youth camp, but we've got to do this. Jared Branthwaite and Anthony Gordon aren't at the same level. Anthony Gordon has shown in the Premier League this season that he can keep up to the pace with the league. He can create chances. He can get involved. He can make things happen. Jared Branthwaite has been out with a long-term injury for a while and hasn't played the Premier League game for a year and a half. It would be silly for Rafa Benitez to put him in for me, because what happens if he goes out and makes a shocking mistake 10 minutes into the game and we go 1-0 down? Fans start getting on his back. His confidence is shot. The manager can't take him off because it's only 10 minutes into the game, and he wouldn't do that as he didn't with Gabaman last week, and then he might make another 2-3 mistakes. So Jared Branthwaite isn't starting. I'd incorporate him into the squad. I'd bring him on. I'd play him in cup games. I'd see what he's like. But it's starting this game on Sunday, a game that Everton absolutely have to turn up and at least put a performance in. Albeit win, really. We've got to win this game, but certainly put a performance in. Jared Branthwaite isn't starting. Mason Holgate isn't good enough. It's as simple as that. I think Mason, out of the 4 centre-backs, 4, first team centre-backs that we've got, if you like, I think he's probably the worst of the lot. And yeah, as I said, it leaves us with very few options. So although Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey have been a calamity recently, they're going to start, aren't they? And as I said, we absolutely have to have a much, much better performance from the pair of them. They've got to be on the game. If they're not, they'll be exposed by Harry Kane, they'll be exposed by Son, they'll be exposed by Lucas Maurer on Sunday. There's no excuse for for Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey to not be at their very best. They've got to be. Otherwise, Everton will be punished for it. They simply have to be. So let's hope that those two are, and let's hope that we see a much more improved performance than what we did last week against Watford and on Monday night against Wolves. And then at right back then, I've gone with Seamus Coleman. As I said before, Seamus for me hasn't had the greatest start to the season. I'm quite annoyed with Seamus recently, not necessarily because of his performances not being good enough, but more the fact of the old coming over to fans and trying to argue the point after putting in a woeful performance. But listen, he's the club captain. I love him. He's an Everton legend, and he will start. he will start on the weekend. The only other option would be Holgate at right back, which would be risky, or Godfrey at right back, and Godfrey has proved before that he can't play right back. So yeah, Seamus Coleman will start. Not the most ideal back line, but without Yerry Mina, what can we expect? If you're enjoying, by the way, so far, please hit that like button. It only takes a second, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic. It would mean a massive amount to me. In the midfield, then, I've gone with a 3 in midfield, but one sort of playing a little bit ahead of the others. I've gone with Alan and Fabian Delph. I never thought I'd see the day where I'd include Fabian Delph in an Everton team and stress the importance of Fabian Delph starting a game for Everton, but ultimately, he has to start this one. We saw last week that on Monday night, that Jean-Philippe Gbamin just simply isn't at the level he needs to be to start in the Premier League. It could work with Gbamin playing maybe alongside Delph and alongside Alan, but I just think he was that poor last week positional-wise. On the ball, he was okay, made a couple of good passes, he showed the strength a couple of times, but positional-wise, he was just all over the place. And that's the last thing that Everton need against this Tottenham team tomorrow. The last thing we need is a player that is going to be absolutely all over the gaff, allowing Tottenham to just get in the space and get in behind and create chances. It's just not what we need. So for me, I've gone with Fabian Delph in there. Come on against Wolves on Monday. He changed the game. He secured it. We were a lot stronger. We were a lot more stable with him in the team. And we just looked a lot better. So as long as he doesn't pick up an injury between now and Sunday, Fabian Delph starts for me. Alan starts next to him. I thought Alan, again, wasn't great last week. Albeit I do think he was covering for Gbamin on a number of occasions. And that's why maybe he was left exposed a little bit. I think Alan's had a good start to the season. I think he's had a good start to the season. Obviously, you know, there's no surprise that he's much better when Doucouré's there. There's no hiding the fact that he's much better when Abdoulaye Doucouré's next to him. But for now, at the moment, I think he's had a good start to the season. So Alan goes in there, and again, options wise, Tom Davies, Gbamin again, no, Alan's in there, isn't he? And then in front of them, I've gone with Anthony Gordon. Now, it might be Anthony Gordon in the middle. It might be Damari Gray in the middle. It might be Andros Townsend in the middle. Again, it's that front four of Gordon, Townsend, Gray and Richarlison for me. Some people might be a little bit more cautious in this game. The manager, again, this is just my prediction. The manager may well go with a 5 at the back, or a 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it, and have Holgate, Keane and Godfrey in there, I just don't really think that Holgate, Keane and Godfrey make a good 3 at the back, to be honest with you. I think that's far too many players there. I think it causes far too much confusion. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we played a 3 last season at Goodison against Tottenham, and that was where the 2 mistakes were made for their 2 goals. So, not for me for playing a 3 at the back, but the manager may well do because of the injuries and because of the fact that we're coming up against the side with a lot of quality. But I've gone with a front 4. If it's a 4 at the back, I've gone with a front 4 of Gordon, Townsend, Gray and Richarlison. I don't think Townsend or Gray had their best game on Monday night, but they still always both give 100%, and there's still that quality there to change a game, and it might be the difference on Sunday. A worldie from Andros Townsend or a lovely little finish from Damari Gray might be the difference between winning and losing, or winning and not winning on Sunday. Anthony Gordon has to start for me. He's been called up to England's under-21 squad today for their upcoming international fixtures, which is absolutely amazing. Massive congratulations to Anthony Gordon for that. And he's got to start. He's been absolutely brilliant. He come on against Wolves and he was fantastic. Alex Iwobi has done absolutely nothing to suggest that he deserves to start whatsoever. Scored a goal the other day, okay, but let's be honest, for the rest of the game he didn't do anything. He wasn't effective, and as I said, for me, I think Anthony Gordon deserves to be in there. I really, really do. He's impressed recently. It'd be good to see him getting a start from the off, and it'd be good to see what he could do against a good side with good players in there. And then obviously Richarlison up front. Listen, Solomon Rondon is still absolutely nowhere near the level that he needs to be. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is still out injured. Richie obviously is only just returning from an injury, so granted, I appreciate he's still not at 100%. But for me, Richarlison starts, and let's hope that he can get back on the score sheet. On Sunday evening. Again, as I said, Richarlison could be the difference between us winning and not winning this game. He's certainly the best goal scorer at the football club, without Dominic Calvert-Lewin being fit. So Richarlison starts up front. So there you go. That is my predicted starting 11. I've gone with Jordan Pickford in goal, Luca Dean, Michael Keane, Ben Godfrey and Seamus Coleman to make up the back 4. Again, could be a back 5 with Holgate in there. I've gone with the midfield 3 of Alan, Fabian Delph and Anthony Gordon. Again, could be a midfield three of Kabam and Delph and Dave and Alan and be a little bit more defensive. And then I've gone with a front three of Gray, Richarlison and Townsend. I think that is probably the least controversial choices. I think we're more than likely to see those three starting as a front three at the weekend. You might see two up front. You might even put Rondon next to Richarlison and hope for a little bit more from a centre forward partnership, but who knows? Let's wait and see. Let us know your thoughts on my predicted starting 11 in the comments, and let us know your thoughts on everything we've spoken about in the comments as well. If you're watching live, get your thoughts in the live comments dead quick, and we will be going through them before we finish up. Where are we then? Whammy says, don't care, Tottenham got Conte, but he will flop at Tottenham. Problems are quite similar to Everton. Where are we? Problems are quite similar to Everton. I don't think Conte is the guy to sort that mess out. Fair enough. Matty Blue Nose says, to be honest, I don't mind losing 2 or 3-0 if the players give it all and put a performance in for the badge. For goodness sake, that's all us fans ask for. Well, you're right, look. I hate losing, and if we went out and lost 2 or 3-0 in any circumstance on Sunday, I'd still be fuming and dead upset. But if the players give it 110%, I couldn't sit here on an instant match reaction, and I don't think anyone could sit here on Twitter and go, the players don't care, they didn't give their all, this, that and the other, another shambles. We'd just have to sit here and go, Tottenham are a better team than us, we've got massive injury problems, we need to improve, it is what it is, move on. And it's the fact that we can't say that when we're losing games, because the overall feeling is the players aren't giving everything, the players aren't doing as much as they should be doing. That's where the problems come in, isn't it? Pokey says, I'm all for giving managers time unless Rafa is facing relegation this year. He deserves the whole season at least. Cannot believe rumours of getting him sacked are pathetic. Yeah, well, again, it was always going to happen, wasn't it? It was absolutely always going to happen. Pokey says, even one season is a short amount of time. This man needs time. Yeah. Maximov says, Son is nasty. He is. Pokey, we're talking about that challenge. Let's not get into that challenge. Whammy says, tough though, calm with these players trying to carry out things all over the place. Coleman is no longer good enough. Keenan will get a terrible. Godfrey has had his confidence moved out of him. Yeah, I would agree. He also says, Dean overplayed Mina, also injured. No backup for Allen or the Corday. A pointless, a woeful. What a shout that is. Rondon too much shit in a squad to still function. Yeah, I would agree. Bogue says, I hope Gordon starts. I'd even give Kenny a start over Coleman. I really wouldn't with John Joe Kenny. Listen, I know Seamus hasn't been great recently, and I know he's obviously gone under the skin of a lot of Evertonians, but John Joe Kenny just isn't anywhere near good enough to play for Everton. James says, like a 3-man midfield, Kabam and Allen and Delph, just something to help a very dodgy defence while Mina is out. You might see it. We may well see that. Or a 3 in defence. Holgate, Keane and Mina. Holgate, Keane and Godfrey in the defence. I wish Eddie Mina was in there. You may well see either one of those choices. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if we did. Josh says 4-3-3, please. Tottenham played 3-4-3 last night. Yes. Calix says, I think I'd stick with the 3-man midfield of Allen, Delph and Townsend with Gray and Gordon on the wings. Potentially, mate. CFC Nicola says, just beat them. We'll do our best. Ricky says, alright, Cam, it's looking bleak at the minute. And every season looks like Groundhog Day. It's a hard life being an Evertonian. Yeah, it is. Congrats, Cam, says Whammy. Cheers, my mate. Cheers. Pokey says, January signings, Cam. I think we'll make signings in January. As to who that will be, I don't know, but I do think we'll make signings in January. Jem says, you're right, Cam. Even the dodgy players in our squad on the day can pull off 3-point results over the alleged top 4 to 6 if they give it 100%, but they can also lose to any team in the country. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe National League sides will beat Everton if we didn't turn up. Whammy says, any chance these fools sign Anthony in January? Who knows, we'll wait and see. Crimson says, yeah, Cam, I'll be happy with a point, but 3 is definitely there for the taking. Yeah, Delamere Bear says, new to the channel, enjoying the content, very well spoken and not a wool. Is right, mate, thank you very much. I very certainly am not a wool. I can confirm that. Andrew says, I haven't blamed the Obi once unless he played badly, which is most of the time. It's true though, isn't it? It's true. Delta starters, Crimson. He's got to start for me. He's absolutely got to start. Are you doing watch-alongs to CFC, Nicola? I'm not doing watch-alongs at the moment, mostly because I go to every home game and I've been going to a few away games as well. So I don't want to just do a watch-along every now and then. If I'm doing watch-alongs, I want it to be every game, and I can't do that, so I won't be doing them just yet anyway. Delamere says, watch Spurs last night in the Europa League. Or something, and didn't look amazing. Poured at the back. Yeah, they were poured at the back. You're right. Definitely there to be got at. Delamere says, I won't be on the pitch is like playing with 10 men. Effing idiots. I like Ramsdale, but just because he had one good game for Arsenal, people just need to stop talking. Says Whammy, I agree. Izzy says, is DCL too injury prone? I don't think so, personally. I don't. He's had a bad injury. of course, and he's been out. And he plays. Isn't Dominic Calvert-Lewin played with a broken toe for a number of weeks, so it's no surprise that he's still out injured with other problems that occurred because of playing with a broken toe. A lot of players wouldn't have played with a broken toe and he'd have probably been back by now. But we also probably wouldn't have beaten Brighton or who else did we beat in that period? Southampton, or I can't remember who else we played in that period. Who did we play first away game of the season? Leeds. We obviously scored the penalty. So yeah, I get where you're coming from, but no for me. Delamere Bear says Arsenal think Ramsdale is England's number one and they're getting DCL this season and something, but yeah, let them think what they want. Paul says, by the way, Cam, I love Coleman. I think he's a decent captain, but I don't think having a captain at right back. Captains need to be in the centre roles for me. Don't know who that would be, like centre mid, centre back. It's an interesting point, mate. It's an interesting point. As to who it will be, it would either be Mina or Alan for me, because they're the only real leaders in those positions. Crimson says he has had one proper injury, wouldn't say injury prone. Wimmy says, yeah, but it's Everton, we have no backups for anyone, so we need players never to get injured, which is kind of impossible, says Crimson, yeah. If you're enjoying, by the way, hit that thumbs up button. If we get to 30 before we finish, that would be absolutely fantastic. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Josh doesn't think he's too injury prone. Wimmy says Dean is back, Keane and Godfrey will start. Delamere says, with the way teams snap players, we won't get one that won't get injured, on top of Everton that don't have backups and genuinely grind their starters to dust. Yeah. Izzy says Allgate is so rash. Rafa needs to dip in the market in January and get another centre half. Needs to get a lot of players in January. Drop Coleman and put Ben at right back. I don't like Ben Godfrey at right back personally. I just don't think he's positional wise. I don't think he's good enough. Whammy says I think Godfrey can play the position, but not when he is in a different position every game. Yeah, it's a fair point. Delamere says Allgate is mad. Delph was decent when he came on against Wolves. Good awareness, reads the ball well and good on the ball. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Crimson says, weird though, he was superb at left back last season. He was. I just think he's not fit, and I just think his confidence is being knocked because of not being fit and not playing at the level that he's used to at the minute. Ben Godfrey. Hopefully we see the Ben Godfrey that we saw last season, because he was absolutely exceptional. Whammy says if we start Delph and Allen as a 2, it won't go well. Delph starts weren't that much better than Kabaman. We really need 3 in midfield until Decore's back. Yeah, maybe, and I would happily accept 3 in the midfield. I would like that. Colin says we're just turning into a mediocre club. What's happened to our club since Moyes left? The likes of West Ham, Spurs have overtaken us. I don't think we're turning into a mediocre club, mate. I think we are a mediocre club at the minute, to be honest with you. Delamere says, we can keep crossing it into Richie like he is DCL. Yes, Izzy says Rondon to come off the bench and save the day against Spurs. They even nearly bottled it at home. If that happens, then I'll be made up. Everton 3-2, says Martin. Let's hope so, Martin. Crimson's gone 2-all. Will be interesting with both teams with major issues in midfield, says Whammy. Yes. Ricky says the performance against City was brilliant when we lost 2-0 in the cup. If they give it 110%, we can and still get beat. That's all we can ask for. Yes. Crimson says was watching the training video on YouTube that Eve posted. Schenk was finishing everything he might start. Again, fitness-wise, it's all well and good finishing, drills in training and that are set up for you to finish, and that you can barely miss. It's different being able to run around for 90 minutes and do it in the Premier League, isn't it? Delamere says John Joe Kenny firing in goals and the training video, didn't know if it was a sales video or not. Well, if Cenk's firing in goals as well, it probably is a sales video, to be honest with you. I'd love to say the club are probably using it to get interest from other clubs, but I don't think the club think that much into anything that they do, to be honest with you. I just don't. It kills me watching all the banter from Arsenal fans, how they think they can walk over and take DCL. They still think he's an Arsenal fan, which is baffling me. Absolutely baffles me. Crimson says, Dom, I reckon we'll move to London. We have to be careful. We're desperate out of FC. I don't think Dom will go just yet anyway. And if he does go to London, why would he go to Arsenal? He would, again, very similar to Everton. They're in good form at the moment, but very similar to Everton in regards to just being a bang average team at the minute. But yeah, anyway, that is going to do it for this live stream. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It will be a difficult game on Sunday. We know that Spurs are obviously in a much better position now because of the manager they brought in, but it's still the same Spurs side. They've still got weaknesses. We saw that last night, even with Conte in charge, and it's up to Everton to go out there and not only give it 110% and put a performance in, but also don't make stupid mistakes. Don't give them any chances that are unnecessary. Take the chances that we create, and if we do, I think we can win this game. But in terms of how I'm feeling generally at the moment, I'm not too confident. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw for this one. But I'm not massively confident, only because of what I've seen the last 3 weeks from Everton. Nothing to do with Spurs. It's because of what I've seen from Everton. Anyway, look, that is going to do it for this live stream. A massive thank you to everybody for watching. If you watch live, in the live comments, massive thank you. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching the YouTube video, don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section down below, and we will get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It does only take a second. Once again, massive thank you for 5,000 subscribers, and also 1 million views across all of the videos. That was absolutely fantastic. Again, big thanks to everybody in the live comments. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day. And massive thank you for the people in the YouTube comments. Really appreciate that as well. We hopefully will be back later on today. Tell me, Forrest says, when you're next live. Hopefully within the next hour or so. I want to talk a little bit more about Everton's board and just what the priority is at the moment for Everton. It won't be a long live stream. It won't be ranty. It's going to be more of a concise, constructive discussion. And then obviously we will be back with the instant match reaction and the player ratings on Sunday directly after the game. And the game review will be on Monday. So massive thank you for watching. Nice one, Cam. Have a good day, people. Come on, you Blues, says Crimson. Cheers, mate. Williams says, I think it's too soon. Tottenham will be trash, but I want to know. I want to show up with. Yeah, see you guys. As William is right. Poke says, thanks, Cam. Cheers. And Delamere Bear says, Salah. Thank you all very much. As I said, if you've enjoyed this one, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. And we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Up the Toffees. Let's have a reaction, Everton. These aren't that great. Let's go out and let's beat them. Thank you very much. William says, you're doing a starting show. Starting what? Starting 11 show? Probably not. But there you go. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.